Welcome to another insightful episode of Parent Entrepreneur Power. In this podcast, Mary Catherine Johnson and Evan Johnson highlight the successes and struggles of parents in business. They share how to be the example of success in entrepreneurship to foster the same in your child, and so much more. Are you ready to power up?
Okay, welcome everybody to another very exciting episode of Parent Entrepreneur Power. I'm here as always with my lovely co-host slash mom, Mary Catherine Johnson. I think she's pretty awesome. I'm a little bit biased, but I've never met anyone that disagreed with me. So I think there's some truth to it. With us today, we have a very special guest. I think this is going to be a pretty awesome conversation. I am excited. I know my mom is excited, and you listening should be excited as well. Kelly Noble Mirabella, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Evan. I'm excited to be here. There's so much excitement. Can you feel it?
That's awesome. We are very happy to have you. So we like to start off in the same place with our guests, and that has been making sure that everyone listening is on the same page and they have the context that they need to get the most that they can out of the conversation. So for those people, go ahead and tell us, what is it that you do?
What is it that I don't do is really a much easier answer. So I have been in the digital marketing space for, 15, 16 plus years. And I would say today, as of right now, I do many things, but I focus currently on content strategy and batching. That's kind of my main focus at the moment. I'm very well known in the chat marketing space for my chat marketing persona, Baby Got Bot, which is very fun and 80s. And I also am a business mindset coach, which I like to intertwine in my content strategy training because I believe that people miss out on the foundational understandings of values and goals before they even start creating content. And so that's why a lot of content fails. And outside of that, I'm a mom, a wife. I just wear many hats. So.
Okay.
And you just moved too, right? Recently.
I did just move. Yeah, I moved from California to Texas. We've been here I think it's been about 2 months, maybe about that. Yeah. Wow. Nice. I got the y'alls down.
Those are easy to get down.
It can take a little bit of getting used to, though. I moved to Atlanta from here in California, and definitely, there's a few of those little things you kind of got to pick up over time.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you're a mom as well. Let's talk about that. How many kids do you have, and how old are they?
I have 2 girls. I have a soon-to-be 9-year-old this weekend, actually. She gets to share her birthday with Mother's Day, so that'll be fun. And she was the one who made me a mom. It's only fitting. And then I have a little one she just turned 6. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're old enough to not need constant supervision, but young enough to still,
be cuddly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Some of them are still cuddly. My littlest one is much more, she's a mama's girl. My oldest is a daddy's girl. So
there you go.
You can definitely tell.
Yeah. The same age difference as Evan and his little brother, Riley, 3 years difference. And it was really perfect for us. I loved it.
Yeah, I think it's a great mix because they're old enough or they're young. They're like close enough in age that they could play together, but then they're also far enough apart that can also be independent depending on the situation. So.
And have their own identities.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's awesome. What are their names?
Arya is my oldest. And by the way, we named her Arya before I even knew there was a Game of Thrones. So
I was about to ask.
We named her Arya because it's Italian phrase for musical notes. And her last name Mirabella is Italian. And then my youngest is Gia. And I just really like the name Gia. My husband, the reason we chose Gia is when I was reading names to him, he really wanted a boy. He's happy he has girls now, but he really wanted a boy and Gia was our last. So he was like kind of heartbroken a little bit. And I was like, okay, well, we got to pick a name. So I'm reading these names. And he's like, and then he gets to Gia and he's like, So that's the one I picked, but it fits her so much though. So yes, I have Aria and Gia, both Italian names.
Mhm.
That's like a perfect like wedding story. Like she's getting married, and then you stand up, and then that's like
By the way.
that's it. That'd get a laugh. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, I got to tell you, my family name, not my maiden name, but my mother's maiden name is Italian. It's Fiorucci. And my name, it was after my grandmother, and it's Maria Catarina, Mary Catherine. So I get it. But yeah, names are, it's just as difficult to pick the business name many times, right? As it is
name is just
picking your kid's name.
Yeah, and you want it to be unique, right? So I'm like, I pick Aria. I think this is such a unique name. I've never heard of it. And then it became the most popular baby name. We've met so many Arias. I have yet to meet another Gia though. So
wait, was that because of Game of Thrones?
No, I think it became popular. Yeah,
popular.
It just became popular because of Game of Thrones.
But that's what I mean. Like it became popular.
Yeah. So afterward, people would be like, "Oh no, actually, so funny." Funny naming stories. We're telling people this is what we're going to name her, and my mother-in-law goes, "Oh, you mean after the casino?" No, not after the casino. I'm not naming my. I was like, we'll go stay at the casino named Aria because my oldest thinks it's so cool that there's a hotel named Aria. But yeah, everyone has a reason why you name your kid, and you're sitting over going like, I just liked it in the book. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It is probably the most palatable name in Game of Thrones to actually name someone without it being like, kind of
weird,
cruel
horrible.
to name you.
It was like one of the only characters that wasn't just horrible.
Yeah, like an actual like human name that you want to name someone. That's pretty much it.
And plus the music. I mean, Evan played the trumpet and I played the cello, and so we know what aria means, right? So so we get the Game of Thrones connection, we get the musical connection, and
so it's the musical side. That's yes, exactly. Now I feel bad for people who name their kids like Daenerys or something, and they hadn't finished the series. Like that happened. God. People were like, "Oh, what a beautiful name!" And she's such a great character. And then
people actually name their kid that.
I have heard of people who did that, and
that's too. You have an excuse. Like Arya is a name that a person could reasonably come up with outside of Game of Thrones,
which I did.
That name Daenerys only exists in Game of Thrones. That's like really.
It doesn't end well.
It's like naming your kid Frodo. Give me a break.
Right?
Yeah, like what if they don't? What if they don't like game? What if they're not into fantasy? What then? It's gonna be like,
what if they don't like what Daenerys did at the end? I mean,
and they have to field these like questions about Game of Thrones for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Note to self: don't name your kids after TV shows until you finish the series, and then.
And
then still probably don't.
Then still probably please.
So tell us about your kids as it relates to business. They're still quite young. So they're probably not thinking about becoming entrepreneurs themselves or having any idea what that actually means. Tell us about that.
So actually, it's interesting because I started my business because of my kids, but I started it before I had kids. So when I started my business, I was not married yet, but I was with my now husband, and we had obviously had conversations about, we want to have kids someday. And I came from corporate America, and I saw how difficult it was to be a parent, and more specifically a mom. I mean, no offense to the dads out there, I'm sure it's just as hard, but there is this thing with a bit of sexism in the world, and as a mom, it's very hard to take time off. Because you're kind of the caregiver, right? In a lot of instances. And that's not to say that there are dads out there who don't do this. And I saw this, and I saw how hard it was, because your kids, they will get sick, and you do need to take care of them. And that your kids have all these activities at school, and you want to be a part of that. And they want you to be a part of that. And there's just, the schedule does not work for the 9 to 5. And I knew that. And so I thought, okay, I know entrepreneurship is no joke. Like, owning a business takes work, especially those first several years. And so I started my business before I had kids, knowing I would have kids, because I started it because I wanted to establish it so that by the time I had kids, I could at least have control over my schedule and have not that chaotic, like first couple of years of business. So I owned my business for about, gosh, I got to think about this, about 3 years before my first child was born. So it did give me foundation to kind of get things moving and build some clientele and get some success and stability before I was having to, completely adjust my schedule for children, which I did. And since then, I have completely built my business around the life I want. And I think that's one of the beautiful blessings of being your own boss is you could say no to whoever you want to work with. You can schedule yourself exactly how you want. I don't take phone calls. You cannot call me for work. I don't care if you're my client or not. If you want to talk to me, you need to schedule it because that's who I am. And I'm completely fine. If people aren't cool with that, then I'm happy to refer you to someone else because I've built my business to live the life that I want. And the life that I want is to be uber present. I want to, my kids get sick constantly. If you follow me on Facebook, I'm going through like a saga right now where my kids are sick every day since we moved to Texas. Their immune systems are getting used to the new environment. So I have not worked a whole lot. Thank God I batch my content. So I've built my business so I can do that. I can go on, field trips and I could pick my kids up in the middle of the day within a 5-minute notice of the nurse calling me, which always surprises the nurses. They're like, whoa, that was fast. So yeah, I mean, my whole business is foundationed in the understanding that I built it so I could be the mom I want to be. And that's not necessarily the mom that everybody wants to be, but it's certainly the mom I want to be.
That's like, you have more foresight than like 95% of other entrepreneurs that I talk to.
I was
Honestly.
really fortunate to have it. I look back, I'm like, whoo, because first 3 years was rough. I would not want to do that with a newborn.
Because typically the story is like, you have the kid and then you're like, oh shit, I should like, I got to get my life together so I could be there for the kids. And then you start the business.
Yeah.
And then you're starting it with the baby. And so the fact that you did it beforehand is like, wow, I honestly don't think I've ever talked to an entrepreneur who did it that way. Like, I don't think I have ever talked to someone who had actually planned like that. They just started a business because some catalyst in their life made them start a business, which is fine. But like, that is impressive.
Very.
I try.
Yeah. I mean, same with me. I was, Riley was 18 months old when I started my first business. So at least I waited until he no longer took naps, which was really stupid. But
yeah,
anyway.
like you do it while they're napping.
Yes. I thought he was going to be like Evan, and Evan took like 2-3 hour naps a day. So I'm like, yay, I can get a lot done. No, this one stopped taking naps at 18 months. So
I know you have to just roll with it, right?
Just do it.
I never stopped taking naps even 23 years in. How many months is that?
I wish I could take naps. Seriously, I tell my kids all the time, like, take naps while you can. I don't have time for naps. But I remember, like, my kids have always been a part of that journey, right? Even before, when it was just a plan. When I was pregnant, or not pregnant, when I had my second child, she was very much a child who needed to be attached to me at all times. It was exhausting. So I had no choice. And for the longest time, I am on video all the time. This is my lifeblood. This is where I made, at that time in my life, I actually had a course on live video, and I was one of the founding members and one of the board members for the Perry Girls, for anyone who's, shout out to the Perry Girls. So I was very much camera. And I would just literally strap my kid to me and I would get on and do a live, and I would just talk about, marketing strategy and stuff. I'm like, the deal, guys. I'm going to talk till she wakes up. And so I would just learn how to just roll with it. And I think as a entrepreneur with young kids, you almost have to. You just have to be okay with your kid walking in. And anyone who's ever done a live with a young child around, that it's like the bat signal that they need to come in and say hi to the world because mommy's live. And you just have to be okay with it. You just have to roll with it. So they've always been intertwined in that. And it is what it is.
What about entrepreneurship? When they see you doing the things that you do, how do you handle that? Do they know what you do? Can they talk about what you do? Especially with girls, I'm sure. But,
they can actually.
Yeah.
No, it's like my oldest, when she was in kindergarten, she would go around and tell people that her mom builds chatbots and she has Baby Got Bot. now my daughter, my oldest, has shown the most interest in this world, right? And she started her own YouTube channel. I'm teaching her how to. She's not very like consistent, she's not that kid, but she has interest in it. And so I decided, I'm going to teach you the skills of YouTube. I'm going to teach you video. I'm going to teach you editing and understanding how to pre-plan. Don't just jump on. Because I know like there's kids, they watch them and they're just out there, doing toys and stuff. And that's what she wants to do. But I'm like, no. I'm going to teach you the stuff so that you could take over mama's business soon. Like I'm going to go retire. But so she's done that. She's learning those things and she's very interested in having her own backdrop and, all the things that is the creative side. And she's even told her teacher, like, when I grow up, I'm taking over my mom's business. I'm like, do you even know what that means? So she understands what I do. And I think she's got a little bit more of that. I want to do what you do because I like it. My youngest, it's hard to say. She's still too young to really get it. But honestly, if it were between the two of them, I'd say my youngest is the most likely to be an entrepreneur because she is a badass. Can I say that? Like, she is stubborn and she is smart and she wants it her way. And I don't ever see her being a boss or having a boss. So she will either be the boss or she will own her own business or something like that because it won't go well any other way.
Without that.
So.
Unless she learns that skill somewhere in the world.
Right. But if there's one thing I could teach my kids, I don't care if they want to be an entrepreneur, great. If they want to work for someone else doing what they love, great. But if there's one thing I want to instill in my children, it's that you should never settle for less than what you want in life and go after the things that sound crazy and that you're passionate about. And don't be afraid to take crazy jumps and fail and get back up and do it again. And whatever path that is for them, then great, I will support it. So.
Yay. Yeah. And even your oldest who's learning video, and if she's actually going to learn how to edit and learn those kinds of things, there's a skill. There's a skill that if there's a time when she doesn't want to be in front of the camera or she wants to try something else, she has an amazing skill. Like Evan, that's how Evan started in entrepreneurship. I asked him if he wanted to possibly learn how to edit my podcast and, earn a little extra money. And of course at 16, at 16, he's like, sure.
Right. I think if you look at a lot of, if you look at kids of entrepreneurs, especially, I think you'll find that they do tend to get skilled up, if you will, earlier. And so they'll, start little side hustles while they're in high school or elementary school or whatever. And I always think that that's kind of a cool thing to see.
And what's really funny, Kelly, is we've actually talked to a few entrepreneurs who aren't doing that, who are really specifically keeping their kids in school or really wanting them to go to college or, introducing them to what they do, but in a way that's not the kid's choice. It's more like, you need to do what I do the way I do it kind of idea.
Yeah.
So it really depends on the parent, right,
I
Evan?
think it does.
Yeah, no, I just think a lot of it comes from observing as a child. And we've talked about this before in other episodes as well. But one of the big reasons I think why kids of entrepreneurs seem to emulate a lot of that behavior and they start like side hustles or whatever, selling lemonade or, whatever. It's because that's what you see. I mean, I think probably the biggest reason why I am an entrepreneur today isn't because you taught me how to edit a podcast. It's because for my entire life, I've seen you be an entrepreneur. And so that's just what I've seen. And I was like, yeah, I want that. I don't want, because then my dad, he worked in an office, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. But I was like, yeah, but mom is here all day, every day. We get to do stuff. She's here. She's working in her pajamas. And it's like, as a kid, it's like, yeah, this is what I want, and that's and also, I mean, it's just, if you see it, I mean, it's like a monkey see, monkey do situation. Mm-hmm. If I just see it day in and day out, it's like, that's just kind of how, my brain began interpreting how just working as an adult is supposed to be. So
it's normalized.
Luckily that
I think if you normalize
over.
it definitely gives them that option too. I do think some of it is, who they are, a lot like a personality. I've always been an entrepreneur. I mean, like I remember at my dad's wedding, my parents are divorced. So when he got married again, I was like 8 years old, and I was going around serving drinks to people asking for money. And of course my dad was like upset. And I'm like, why would you be upset? Like I'm like literally making money, and I'm making it so I could give you a gift. Like in my mind, I was like, I don't understand the problem. But I've always been an entrepreneur, but I never had entrepreneur parents until I got older. My mom did become an entrepreneur later on. So it is interesting. I do think a lot of it is what we see, and a lot of it is who we are, our personalities. And that's why I think it's so important as parents that we're open to the possibilities of our children and allowing them to kind of, help foster that and support that. Obviously, we want to guide them too, and that sort of thing, which is kind of hard to do sometimes when we know we should probably let go a little bit.
Oh, you just wait. 20 and 23, I have to zip my lip. Not really that much.
Biting.
I mean, a few years ago, maybe, but really that's the biggest, that's our job. Our job is to prepare them to leave us.
Yes.
Really, that is our ultimate
Terrifying.
job. It really is. It is the hardest. You think potty training's hard? You think co-sleeping might be difficult? You think middle school's hard? I'm telling you, nothing prepares you for when your kid packs his bags and leaves.
Yeah.
And you just visit now.
I know.
It's freaky. It's freaky. It's just freaky. But it's at the same time, like we had in a very interesting conversation, at the same time, it opens up adult experiences and adult conversations that are, to me, so priceless. I'm really so excited to be able to have really in-depth conversations with my sons about life issues and see where they are and what they think is important, with no intent on my part to change their mind. Right? It's their life. They are living their own life. I don't want to make them live my life. It's really their own choice. And that I just can't tell you how incredibly liberating and fun that is. It's really fun.
I can imagine.
So just wait.
I'm just loving hearing this because parents of pretty much everybody else that I know in my personal life are not quite that way. A lot of control still, even for my friends who are my age, my peers. So yeah, you're doing it right. Of course, I'm a little bit biased.
Yeah.
Maybe a little.
Just a little. Well, like when it comes to college, right? I mean, we've talked about this many times. I don't know what your opinion is, Kelly, but let's say your 9-year-old, she's got or even your 6-year-old, if that's the case with her badass attitude. What are you going to do when it comes time to possibly go to college? Are you like, yes, you must go, or it's up to you?
I think, again, it depends on the child. So just for everyone to understand, I went to college 4 years. And maybe 5, I don't know. There was some extra time in there. I really enjoyed college. I actually went away for college. And I think that was very pivotal in making me a much more independent person. And it was very important for me in my timeline. Now, on the flip side, my husband did not go to college. He went to trade school. And my husband makes way more money than me, and actually way more money than most of the people I know that went to college. So I believe that there is a path for everyone. And if you're skilled at something, you'll find, like that path. So I don't think I would ever force college on anyone. But if I saw in my child that it would be beneficial, then I would encourage it. But again, if they were like, no, I want to do this instead. I think for me, the more important thing is to encourage my children before they make that decision at 17, 18 years old, that they take a year and travel and go experience what life is in the real world. And I think that alone can give you so much clarity on where do I want to go from here. So that's kind of where I'm at the thing. Like, I would never force my child to go to college, no, because I know that it doesn't have to be the way. But for me, if I didn't go to college, I question if I would be where I am today because of who I am.
They're definitely it's such an interesting conversation because it's the social aspect of it versus the educational.
For me, it was the social aspect. Right? I needed to go live life. And again, there's other ways to do this. I needed to go live life away from my parents. No, that's not to say I didn't get an excellent education. And I actually used my education. I think that's a distinction as well. Like I am a marketer and I took marketing was my degree. And a lot of that foundational stuff has served me very well in my life and in my career. And even when I was setting up my business. So for me, I just got lucky. Like I've always been interested in marketing though. I was in DECA. For those of you, do they still have DECA in schools? I don't know. It's like a club for marketers essentially.
Oh, yeah, no.
So I was in like DECA, which is like a marketing club. So if you are in high school, you have sometimes different clubs. That was mine. It's like a marketing entrepreneurship club. And you would go to state and compete against other students on how to pitch things and market things and, you know, how you would solve these marketing or business problems. So I had a desire. I had a desire to do this stuff from the get. So for me to go to college, it just made sense because I wanted to go get a degree in this. I wanted that foundation. I wanted to be away from my parents. So there was a lot of layers to why going away. And mind you, I chose a very small college. I went to Fort Lewis College in Durango. Class sizes were like 15 kids in a class. You know, it wasn't like CU or DU with like hundreds of people. So I had, you know, relationships with my teachers in the fact that I could ask them questions. I could really, my brain, I need some conversation. I need it to be more intimate in my learning environment. And that's what I was given. So for me, it was a very big win and it really was pivotal for me. But would that have worked for everyone? No, man. I knew so many people who went to college with me that like skipped class all the time and went snowboarding. They had no business being in college. They should have been off, like taking a year off and then maybe doing a trade school or starting a business or whatever. So I don't think it's a necessary, like everyone should do this or everyone should do this. I think it comes down to, we are all very much independent, different humans. Yeah. And when we take a human that is not supposed to be in this, like a round peg, you know, square box, and you're like, fit, it doesn't work that way. So as a parent, I recognize that just seeing from my relationship with my husband and his background and how successful he is, that we don't all need to go down the same path. But my job is to, number one, understand who my child is as much as possible and help encourage, or maybe just say, maybe look at this perspective, or here's another idea, but never to force any idea, and then support whatever comes along. Because, you know, eventually we all have to make that leap and it's our life. So,
you know, the difficult part. No, that is awesome. I agree. There's nothing about what you just said that I can even, that I would even choose to fault or take issue with, because the only thing I'll say is that we've talked to a lot of people, and I know a lot of other parents who, if your child wants to do something completely different and out of your norm as the parent, your being, meaning collective, it's very difficult to just sit back and allow that to happen.
It is.
Yeah.
I think
it's vital.
It's always difficult to see someone go through something, first of all, that you don't understand, because it's scary, right? And we all have fears on our own.
Yep.
But to place those fears on our children, I'll ignore my fear and allow them to take the leap, as long as I don't think it'll kill them.
Yeah.
And then when they fail, if they fail, maybe they don't fail. Maybe it's just my insecurity or my ununderstanding of what the world is that they're living in. Maybe they become wildly successful at it. It's happened. Like, look at every YouTuber in the world.
Yep.
But what if they do fail? Okay, well then I'm going to be there for them, because life is about failure, but also about getting back up. And if we don't fail, we don't get back up. We don't learn. We don't move forward. Like, I don't know one person who hasn't failed, but I know a lot of people who have failed without support. And those people have the hardest time. I would rather be the parent who's like, get her done. Like, go do what you want to do. Follow your passion. And then if something happens, I am always here for you no matter what.
Yeah. Or the people who don't even try for fear of failure. Yeah, because again, that's the way they were taught. What kind of life is that? Yeah. Oh, it's not. It's not life. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, you've definitely learned the lesson that it takes a lot of people, entrepreneurs and just people in general. It takes them a long time to learn, and that's that failure is not a bad thing. You know, you fail and then you learn and then you move on. And the problem is failure is like, the worst thing you could possibly do. And so then, you know,
like and you're
but it's
right.
not.
Everyone says that. And then my question is always like, name one person who hasn't failed.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Just name one.
One human.
No
Yep.
one can.
Also,
ever,
what actually happens? You
nobody
fail,
can
so
do-
what?
Yeah, like okay.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Tests or whatever, I failed in
fail
school.
all the time.
Yeah, no, that's definitely that is an entirely different conversation. Like that's failures. That is it's very important. That is for sure. But
Absolutely.
as we begin to wind down the conversation, we like to end with one final question that is always fun to ask. It's definitely a bit of a doozy. If you were to die tomorrow, what would be the entrepreneurial legacy you would leave behind for your kids to use as they potentially grow into entrepreneurs themselves?
Wow, you guys like to leave it with a loaded question.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if it's entrepreneurial. I think it's just what I've learned over my life, and it's part of why I'm an entrepreneur. I think is not so much. I'm not leaving them a business. Like if they want it, they can have it. Absolutely. But I'm leaving them with an example of being fearless. And if there's something I want to leave with my girls, especially, it's that I want you to be fearless in every pursuit of your life, whether it's to fall in love, even though you've been brokenhearted so many times, or to travel because you just want to go experience life, but you're, kind of afraid of, buying the ticket. Or if it's starting a new job in a different state, whatever it is, do it fearlessly. And that's something that I live by. And I teach my children. I teach my children about mindset. I teach them about manifestation. And I absolutely teach them about being fearless. And that's the legacy that I want to leave with them. And if entrepreneurship and how I run my business and work my business for the life I want to live is part of that vision that I'm giving them, then great. I just want to be a great example for them so that when they grow up, they can be whatever the hell they want to be, and they can do it fearlessly.
Amen. Wow.
That's perfect.
There you go.
That is incredible. Well,
you almost had me.
We tried. We
tried our best, but you did it. Well, thank you so much, Kelly, for coming on the podcast and sharing these amazing insights for listeners who are interested in you and everything that you're doing. And if they want to find out more about you, where can they do so?
Well, I am everywhere at Stellar 24/7. So if there's a social network out there, go look up Stellar 24/7. If that's not me, it's because I didn't like the social network. And then also I am the co-author of Digital Etiquette for Dummies, now available at Barnes & Noble and Amazon. And yeah, I mean, that's me in a nutshell.
That's awesome. Thank you again so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Parent Entrepreneur Power. Hopefully you came away with valuable tools you can use in your business, life, and relationship with your kids. If you want to hear more about our mission, or if you want more insights into cultivating your parent entrepreneur power, join our movement to make entrepreneurship more accessible to parents and their kids at parentrepreneur.power.com.